optimistic dude and doesn't want to he doesn't want to think that things are just insanely terrible. You know what I mean? So he says shit
Yeah.
like that.
And which I think is a great perspective.
It's fine. Yeah,
if you're gonna like look at the world, I think you gotta look at it, with a little bit of hope. It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are live.
We are up there in
And I'd like to
was
say
not
hello
paying
to
attention.
David, Anthony,
Hello, people.
Oh, Anthony.
Dimon, and Anthony again. Hope everyone is well on this beautiful Wednesday night. Maybe it's Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, depending on where you're tuning in from.
Or maybe time doesn't exist where you are.
Or maybe there's no time at all because you live on that flat earth.
Time is a construct.
Time is a construct.
It's not real, man. It's what they want you to believe.
How is Stephen Barton and Nick Hill?
Steven's good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you answering for me. I feel like Nick's doing okay.
That was so totally good.
I always like when we make Bunn laugh because then somebody can complain about it in the comments.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, folks. I lost control.
We like that one.
We gotta entertain ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
How's it going,
Anyway,
everybody?
How are you, Button? How are you, Button?
Yeah.
The Bun is good. The Bun just like last 3 days in a row, just been writing scripts. Writing. But I'm going to start filming tomorrow, so that's good. And also starting work on new music, which is
Yes.
trying to keep that monthly schedule. How about you guys? Similar things? On the creative tip, that is.
Steven, I'll let you answer for yourself this time.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. I made a couple of videos in the past I got 4 videos in the past 2 weeks, so that's a thing.
Your bass video's dope.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to work on music stuff, but I've kind of been sidetracked with school stuff and trying to do videos. So it's in order to keep my one video a week thing going, I end up prioritizing the videos over my own music stuff, which I'm probably going to take a couple weeks break from.
Right.
It's fine.
I just dropped the link to Steven's latest bass video in there.
Thank you.
That we're talking about. Keep it relevant. Keep it
Yeah.
tight.
I always like learning from other people, and I find every time you put a video about, techniques and stuff like that, I'm always like, oh yeah, fucking A.
I get to make some music this coming weekend, though, because Close the Hatch is doing all the beginnings of our recording for our next record. So the
nice.
drums start this weekend.
So that means you're going back to Ohio for a little bit?
14th, probably for about 3 weeks. I'll be back in Ohio.
Hell.
Cool. Yeah, and by the time you get back, Canada might start reopening.
Hopefully. I mean, right now, I'm doing 3 COVID tests every time I cross the border. So
crazy.
And their system is a mess. I mean, this is not appropriate conversation for this channel, but yeah, their system's a disaster. They're like, they change the rules, but don't tell you until they change them. Like, they're not like, hey, this is
sounds about right.
Going to be different now. But they wait until you're already here, and then like, you have to take a test 3 days before you cross. No more, no less than 72 hours before you cross. You have to pass a test with a negative result. I'm fully vaccinated, so I'm only going to have negative results. So then the day I arrive, I have to do a test the day I arrive, and I have to have a negative result there within 3 days,
Right.
which no doubt I will. Now, it used to be on the 10th day of your quarantine, you had to do another test. Now it's the 8th day, which they told me on the 8th day.
You're like, okay, I'll put that together for you.
And then every day, I can show you quickly. It's kind of annoying, but let's see here.
And this is what you do to write music.
Yeah, basically.
And to hang out with your daughter. But
So every time I'll deal with that later. Every time I arrive, there's this thing I have to sign into called Arrive Canada. And I also have to schedule when I'm crossing the border to the hour. And I have to do it days in advance.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have to scan my passport into the app. I pick a date and a time I will arrive. And if you don't get within a certain window, you just have to do another one.
Wow.
And it also affects the time frame by which I can take the first COVID test. It's a whole thing.
Some dedication to writing the new Close the Hatch.
Well, it's dedication. I'm like going into this, just being real. The states don't care.
So it's the
It's
exact
coming
opposite.
into Canada. Yeah,
Yeah.
coming into Canada is
the states
is
are
the
like, come
task.
on, we'll give
The
you a
states
vaccine.
are like, hey,
Let's
if you have COVID right now, go ahead and lick that guy. Let's go.
That's true. Oh man.
Anyhow,
Well,
Wild. Today's
Good stuff.
topic is it's titled "No Idea," of course. And what do we have no idea about? No idea about where to begin. No idea about how to finish. It's something that we all, we all kind of end up struggling with at one point or another. I just had that issue with the last track that I released. Decorated is the name of the track. It was a wetlands track, gnarly track. But took me a couple months. Took me, a couple months longer than the month that I was hoping to get it done. And so we'll get a little bit into some of my solves for getting stuck on that track. But about that kind of stuff, you get started. So it's one thing to get started. It's another thing when you get stuck and you're really stoked on what you got, but you got nothing to follow up with. And I'm sure everybody has a story to tell about that or a feeling on that. But we're gonna sort of kick it off. We're gonna go round table, maybe sort of 6 ways around, but like 6 times. So each of us talk about some of our thoughts on the starting. When you're stuck on starting, you're like, I got no ideas. And then also when we're stuck on finishing, you get to the plateau or whatever you will. So maybe who wants to kick it off?
I'll let Nick talk today.
oh, good.
Nick, you're allowed.
Join the conversation.
Join the conversation. And before we get into that,
Yes.
I just want to do a quick little, thank you to everyone with us over at Patreon. I hope that this is up to date. I didn't check before the show.
check.
I usually do, but I didn't. But I will check while the show is going. But thanks to everyone with us over at Patreon. It is $7 Canadian, but
$5.
$5 US to get involved. Kind of finishing up some stuff, some extras for that Patreon. Hopefully maybe I could do that this week. But thank you to everyone with us over at Patreon. This software that we use to do all this fancy stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it pays for.
It's working today too. That's surprising.
So far. Yeah,
Let's not
stop
jinx it.
talking about that.
Sorry.
Gonna jinx it.
Yeah.
But yeah, today's topic, no matter if we are starting a fresh tune or stuck halfway through, there are all kinds of ways to get the riffs flowing. So we're going to kick it off with Mr. Nick. What is, thinking back on some of the things that you've been on, I have a feeling I know what you're going to start with, but getting started on a tune when you're like, I really want to get going, but I just got nothing.
Okay. So something that recently helped me. All right. This is interesting because and you guys hear about it on Bandless all the time. Like, I am like so peaks and valleys with how I'm feeling about my productivity in regards to writing. And I'm trying to write more Wells stuff and just other stuff in general. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't got anything. But I got another side gig producing content for a guitar store in which I need to demo guitars, and I'm like, I need to write music for this because I don't want to. I don't know. I feel like I just have to write music for it, you know.
I like that
So
material, by the way.
I just come up with some shit. I mean, it's debatable whether or not it's any good,
It's
but
vicious.
I just wrote stuff, and I just did one last night too. You know, last night's not as strong as the first one, but if I have like an end goal or game, it seems like I can get past the is this perfect? What else does this need? You know, I'm a little more open to just whatever's coming out.
Right.
So I think maybe what I'm trying to say is like having some sort of direction helps get past maybe some of the creative obstacles.
Like
And then
like a
there's
responsibility.
yeah, like we some of the first stuff I wrote that ended up on the EP Ample Chattels were I was going to do this project with some people. It fell through. I was given like drum tracks that were originally recorded for different songs, but it was recorded by a professional drummer, like a well-known professional drummer. This guy paid for, but he couldn't use the music because the guitar player wasn't part of it. So I wrote a bunch of shit to drum tracks, which
Wow.
is odd. And
Yeah.
then that thing fell apart, and then I had all these good riffs, so I used them, you know? So basically, I was working in this project. I had to come up with stuff to like prove that I can handle the project at the time, you know? And I just wrote to drums. So that was like I had like constraints. You talk about this, Bunn.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had constraints. I did what I could with it, and it yielded something cool. And why am I bringing this up? Because it's like that restraint sort of pushed me in a direction where if I had just completely like blank DAW, I would be like, I don't know what to do here, you know?
I got nothing.
So I guess for now, I'll just leave it at those two things. Like have a kind of direction like you do with your projects.
Pick a direction even.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to be inspired. Just pick a direction.
Yeah, it's even like Wells. Wells has a sound now, or it's gonna have a sound, you know? So I can't write certain types of riffs. Of course I can, but like if I wanted to have a consistent sound, like I got to go in a certain direction. And I know that you, Bunn, with your different projects, like this is how Wetlands is going to sound. I'm going to use this structure. I'm going to use these tones. I'm going to stay in these kind of progressions.
Yeah.
And then with Vens, it's another thing. So like
Yeah,
you're writing,
they're very, very
yeah.
specific.
And I think that can be helpful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as we go
Hugely
on,
helpful for me anyway.
as the next time around, I got some other ideas too that I kind of lean on to get myself inspired to write if I'm stuck. But that's probably good for a good intro, I'd say.
Yeah. No, it's totally good. Stephen, Mr. Stephen Barton.
Well, I think the only way to start doing things is just to start doing
Brute
them.
force.
It's hard to force ideas, though. I think anytime I go into a situation where I'm going to come up with a great idea, that's not usually when the great ideas come, but usually the practice of repetition, which we've kind of talked about this on other episodes. Writing is a practice, so you kind of have to keep doing it. And not every idea is going to be a gem. A lot of the ideas, at least for me, the ones that don't seem like there's something I'm going to build on enough, or I don't feel strongly about them, I usually end up using them as just kind of playthrough music on videos and stuff, or background jams, things of that nature. But also, I think we talked about this on, maybe it was one of the other, I don't know. We have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
Either way, setting rules. I have rules for things. Certain projects are limited to certain, which Bunn, you do the same thing. Certain projects are limited to certain tones, certain structures, certain tunings. I have that with Close the Hatch. Most of the distortion stuff is either fuzz or more of a vintage sound, like vintage gain. I'm not going for like modern high gain with that band at all. I kind of tend to lean on a few particular items. Like I have a handful of like these guys, like custom made pedals that I use for that band in particular, or a certain set of reverbs and things that I lean on really heavily for that band that I don't use in other things. on purpose, to kind of give it an identity. I don't know who cares but me, but
Yeah.
there's that. Then Ohio Foul stuff, when I work on that, the direction is always starting with electronics and then adding live instrumentation, but then finding a way to get the live instrumentation to sound electronic.
Yeah.
And Living Bee Leaning Locust, I think, is the more modern thing, but I've yet to follow that up, even though I've technically recorded enough material for it to have like 2 records, but I just haven't done anything with it.
Of course.
So yeah, I guess that's the thing. Just create guidelines for yourself if you're someone who's not good with, jumping into things without a plan. And if you're one of those people who just sit down and write and get good ideas and feel confident about them, then awesome. But usually it's a repetition thing. And again, like somewhere in the midst of all these meh ideas, there'll be an idea that's great that sparks another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the process starts over again.
Yep. You raise a great sort of talking point, which is the assumption of the person who can just sit down and they just spit out great ideas. I don't know. I think that is maybe one of the rarest kinds of people, at least a person who spits out like incredible ideas. I'm sure there's tons of people who can just sit down and get stuff out. But there's not too many people that are gonna, sit down and come up with like, yeah, that's a banging riff. Every riff is a banger. I think it's the process, like you say. So sitting down and playing and definitely getting something out, but the process of doing that it leads you to great ideas.
I can shit out average riffs all the time. It's just
Yeah.
like Steven says. It's like you
Yeah,
kind of like have
I
to.
can mimic almost any band.
Yeah.
What kind of style do you want?
You kind of have to
but I
sift
don't wanna
through
do
that. Mhm. You kind of have to sift through it, like he says, is like sift through it till you find, oh, there's something different about this, or there's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the practice of what we do, I think maybe videos is helpful. Like the practice of writing music for videos, like it's not always going to be our top-notch shit, but every once in a while you'll write something for a video and it's like, oh, that's good. Like with the Baritone video, there's
rarely write for videos. I often
know.
want to, but
I know. You're probably doing it the smart way to push your
Yours is
own
completely
stuff.
intertwined. I actually am envious of it, but it's like, I don't know. I thought about doing that moving forward with Close the Hatch stuff, but it's like kind of I guess it's an internal thing for me. Like, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing it? I also enjoy that I treat things differently in each video, as far as like the playthroughs. Like they're usually different genres and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or I try to do things that normally I wouldn't do because it's just an experiment for me.
Yep. Yeah,
Right.
that's cool too.
I have limited creative bandwidth.
Well, I respect it because you're everything that is happening on your thing is representing you.
Yeah,
and
it calls
entirely.
back to something like, hey,
Right.
there's this.
That
song,
is by
here's this.
design, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it's brilliant, and I don't have nearly the balls to do it.
We can find those balls.
I can find some for you.
Go on.
But yeah, I'm very much with both of you guys in terms of the rules thing. That's my number one thing. I think if you have an idea of a sound that you want to go for, that's obviously great. It's surprising when you do encounter folks who do not have an idea of a sound that they want to go for. For some people, that seems like too convoluted and too unnatural. I'm like, I don't know. Having a plan is okay, you know. But I think most people have an idea of what they want to shoot for, and then setting like some rules within that thing. I find for myself, and I know that for you guys to some extent, it's similar. I set really hard rules. So to give an example, I've talked about this before, but my Vens project it is only diminished. There is a little bit of chromatic stuff in it, but it's almost entirely diminished. Hard, stick to the rules diminished. and it is only 200 BPM. Click. And
It's fucking
Wait,
wild.
really?
those two things never change, ever. So it really helps to, to kind of work with what you got. And it's like, how many different things can I do with these limited variables? And what's interesting, I think, is that it forces you to find creative ideas outside of the typical, outside of the riffs that you've heard before, outside of whatever. At least that's been my experience, and that's why I'm so jazzed on that system. The second benefit of it is if you have multiple projects, and I think a lot of us here in the comments and in the bandless world, I think a lot of us are interested in doing a couple different things because we're solo creators. So, Steven's got a bunch of things going on. Nick is emerging into a number of projects. Plus, you're adding this layer of doing it for the store, which may parlay into yet another project because it does sound different.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have these creative interests. A easy way to differentiate between those projects is to pick some really specific rules. I highly recommend that idea, that process, at least exploring it. And Vens is blast beats and double kicks. Foreigns and wetlands, you'll never find a double kick anywhere in there or a blast beat in either of those. In wetlands, it's only blues minor, E blues minor, to be very specific. And I'm like, how many songs can I write with E blues minor?
An entire career's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AC/DC.
So
Rage Against the Machine.
yeah, and triplet feel. There's some I think greater similarities between wetlands and foreigns. Foreigns is, however, the most sort of like open. So has a little bit more room to move than the other two. But anyhow, yeah, having the parameters are great, and hope I've elaborated on some of the reasons why and some of the sort of ideas that drive it that make sense. Second in that is editing. So if you have like a loose idea or a raw idea or a simple idea, just anything, like something very pragmatic. You're like, okay, I have this thing. It's not a good idea, but I have this thing. Get a few blocks down. I like this whole blocks thing. I work in blocks. I think most of us do. But get your simple ideas down and then get to the editing of those ideas when it comes to the writing stage. And especially if you're stuck, because the editing, turning this guitar on, off, cutting a stop in, whatever, you're writing. It doesn't matter. You don't need awesome takes. You don't need long takes. You don't need anything specific, whatever works.
Yeah.
But the thing I've talked about the editing thing before, and something that has been found in psychology, in the world of psychology and medicine, mental medicine, is that one of the key sort of kickstarters to creativity is the editing process. And they don't necessarily need to be in the medium. So just getting into some kind of editing. So let's say you don't want to apply that editing to the music. Apply the editing to something else, Photoshop files, creative writing, whatever. Just getting the mind into the editing process, because it's apparently it's the perfect segue into pure creativity. It's like this ramp into creativity.
That's interesting.
It's not my idea.
No. There's something to it.
Yeah.
Because I know that for sure, and I'm going to hijack this topic a little bit.
Yeah,
I know that for sure when I've been writing or editing a video, I'm like, you know what? I need like a song here, but I don't have the right song, so I'm going to write like a background music song. And then I've just like half an hour later, I have like a background music song, like the one I've been using recently. This little real lo-fi
I like it. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
is like with the piano, Like, I wrote that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just a background looping song, but when I hear it, I'm like, damn, I can't. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know how came up with that piano melody,
Yeah.
but it was
I have a couple
during
of
an
those.
edit, during a video edit. I was like, I need to write something, and I've done that multiple times.
Yeah.
You know,
I do the same. I have a whole file that I shared with you. There's just nothing but
yeah,
background stuff. Like I write
it's
background
nothing
stuff
but
all
good
the time.
background music. You know, it's so we all kind of I think do that.
Yeah, I've done exactly that thing, exactly what you just described, and definitely one of the 3 or 4,
Mhm.
that I've been in the middle of editing. I'm like, either A, I need some background music, or B, I'm like, I have an idea. It came to me, I have an idea for some background music.
Yeah.
Um, and most of it I hate, but the one I'm like, how did I come up with that?
Mhm.
And I think it's great. Like I'm jazzed about it. So, any things that you guys want to add to that before we hang out in the comments? We're going to take a look at some comments here. Stephen, you have the power to select comments now, do you not?
I do.
He does.
Okay, awesome. Anything you guys want to sort of sign off on that first sort of point of getting the kickstart to
You did
to
mention
writing.
something that I've done where it's like, or maybe I read ahead. I don't remember. Maybe you mentioned this. Like I'll write just a progression depending on, say if I have like one chunk or two chunks or a riff, I use chunks because, we both work that way similarly. I'm like, okay, well, it'll sound cool, and I'll pick a chord that I think will sound either unique or different, or in line with what is written, and just come up with a simple progression, and then I'll try and write a melody on top of that, with the intention that like if it's a good enough melody, it'll turn into the riff, you know,
Right.
or a chunk of the riff, and then I'll put like the chords with, I'll combine parts, So sometimes just laying down a simple rhythm track to like write some melody or harmonies over
Right.
has led to me coming up with riffs. And I know that it's a case for some of the songs that were like on Ample Chattels. There's one where I just have like all these fucking riffs, and it was because I was doing that. And it
I'm gonna
just
call
sometimes
that.
you'll get in a flow,
Yeah, I'm gonna call that creative runway.
Yeah, I
Oh.
like it.
Ooh.
I kind of do the same thing, honestly. I think I've discussed this before. I know I've at least discussed it with Nick before, but I usually think in like 4 to 8 bars, in a section, and then I add a bunch of ideas to that one thing, and then start taking things away and bringing them back in to see what they actually add or don't add.
Yep.
And then I remove the things that kind of don't really speak to the soul of the part, and then try to find the next thing to go to, or if somewhere in those other layers of ideas there's something that feels like, okay, well, this could work to get me to another spot, then I'll just literally drag it over to the next thing and see if I can make it correlate with the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Sick. It's funny, like everything that we're talking about here, I have like the visuals that are going associated in my head are like I've been in everything you guys say. I have like a memory
Yeah,
associated with all of it.
yeah.
Or at least a memory inspired by what you're talking about, which is amazing. But we're going to grab a few comments. I'm going to start at the end and then kind of go backwards. Mr. Synth Chris says, hello, Synth Chris, by the way. Hero of the riffs. Pull some older stuff you did and listen to it again. Listen to some new stuff. See if you can find what makes it sound like you.
This is actually Cosman talking to Synth Chris.
Oh, at Synth Chris, right.
That's okay. You'll get this YouTube thing.
Yeah. It's there that you don't know. You just don't know it. This is about finding your identity And yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
like, what is my sound?
Yeah,
That's a hard thing to answer sometimes.
it is,
Um,
and that's okay.
yeah, but yeah,
I got one.
I think. Do you think it's important to know what your sound is, or do you think like
Doesn't it
if you
kinda just
keep
happen?
going, it just happens?
Yeah.
I think so.
What do you think, Steven, like with Close the Hatch? I know you guys have changed sound or a little
But
bit.
it has so much of its own sound now, especially.
Yeah.
Do you not think?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest change really has just been vocal approach in the
Yeah,
fast.
but the way that the music, I
It's
don't know,
definitely more
serves
direct.
the vocal.
Yeah, for sure. It's written around the vocals now. Whereas beforehand, it was like, I'm screaming, so it doesn't. This is going to sound negative, but the reality of it, unless I'm singing in pitch or screaming in pitch, it doesn't matter what I'm doing if I'm just writing parts and I know my intention is to scream over it.
Right.
What I have to think about in that instance is like, enunciation via screaming, timing so that it becomes interesting rhythmically no matter what I'm saying. Because that's the only way that you can sell it for someone who's not interested in what I have to say, especially if I'm screaming,
Right.
is to have something that actually adds to the music versus just being an afterthought. And then moving forward, I guess I started intentionally, going into that last record, I intentionally made myself start sitting with an acoustic again and like writing the songs from the standpoint of more of a songwriter per se, and then trying to translate those ideas. Kind of like the long and short is I went backwards because I used to like write songs that way when I was in more rock and roll type bands back in the day. That's how I would write a song. If it was good enough to play on the acoustic and worked acoustic, then it would translate into a bigger production.
Yeah.
And sometimes the simple version of it was better, but in this instance, I kind of applied that same intention to writing heavier, more sludge stuff, but going into it knowing like I'm going to be singing on all this stuff. I'm not going to be screaming, so it definitely changed the approach. I just scratched my headphones attempting to scratch my head. I don't know if you saw that.
It was a good move.
It was cool. I also like kind of, because I was intentionally shifting direction, I sought the assistance of others. So I don't know if any of you have the physical copy of the record or looked on the details on Bandcamp. I don't know if people actually read that stuff. There's a guy that I credit in there named John Lancaster, who was in a band called Chum in the 90s.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine, and he and I worked on the vocal melodies together. So I would send him the songs and kind of my ideas. Then he would literally just sing gibberish in different key, different ideas over them and send it to me. And then I would try to figure out how can I like kind of take my ideas and his ideas and then put lyrics to the random mumblings. So it was a bit of a joint effort.
That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's just kind of like, okay, I hear the melody he's going for. The challenge of it is can I sing that melody? Because my voice is different than his.
Right.
Yeah.
Just by matching his gibberish. The other side of it is like, okay, now that I can get to the gibberish, can I write lyrics that make sense with that phrasing? So it's a different approach. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the band already kind of had a specific sound, and then we just kind of tilted
Ramped
it
it
more in that way.
Yeah.
Refined it.
For sure. And now, I mean, the newer stuff, it's kind of both directions.
Black metal.
It is. It's black and country.
Blackacana.
That is it.
Yeah.
A lot of lounge music. Pretty cool.
Launge.
Yeah.
That's
Anything
lounge.
that makes you feel like
Ultra
Tommy
pronounced.
Bahama shirts are involved.
And board shorts.
Yeah, of course.
And
You can't have
flip-flops.
one without the other.
Yeah.
Yes. Wear socks, please.
Socks and
And Berks.
flip flops and burks.
But yeah, I don't know. There's going to be some screaming on the next batch of stuff, but it's more so like, what can I do to suit each song individually? So without getting, it's a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, there's a sound there, but in order to evolve it and make it change, and truthfully, it's like the band's been a thing for almost 10 years. The only way it can stay interesting is to change.
Of
Oh,
course.
sure. Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
Change is
Fans
fun.
always like when you change too. So
Fans love when
I've
you change.
yeah, we've
They-
got plenty of demos or examples.
People
of
that like don't like what we did were like, metal is a very elitist world at
It
times.
sure is.
So, and I hate that it shouldn't be, because it's arguably like the music of outsiders, but like
Yeah.
it's also
But that's
very,
probably why.
of course, yeah, I agree.
It's a place where you do find comfort, and then that comfort's
And then if it feels like it's changing,
you stop doing the thing I like.
yeah.
Hey,
Um,
man. Yep.
But yeah, so the people that were in the Doom community that liked us a whole lot beforehand, for the prior 2 records, before the one where I didn't scream, were really not stoked about the change. And a lot of the Doom community and the company, not the companies, but like
Shit. Sorry.
the review, whatever you call those, view zines and like online communities and forums.
Yeah.
They didn't want to cover it because it was no longer Doom enough for them. But at the same time, we gained a lot more new listeners because it's different, and because the people that did choose to cover it approached it in that, like, this is a different way of looking at it.
It's because you guys went radio rock.
That's fine. I mean, personally, I think if it's your material, you have the right to do what you want to do.
Of
with
course.
it. And
Yeah, totally.
if someone genuinely enjoys what you're doing, they're probably going to follow along.
I couldn't agree more. I was joking for those who don't know that I'm sarcastic. But yeah.
You gotta just kind of understand. Like, first of all, my band. I mean, you can look at social media. We don't try very hard. Like, there's maybe 1,000 people on each of those things. Like, it's just not. I'm not doing it, and no one in the band.
Modern just because this is like part of the topic. I'm dropping Modern Witchcraft, this album that we're talking about, into the comments. If anyone needs context.
Sure. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, but
No, you're
it's an
fine.
important detail.
I just don't. We're not. We do it to try to just be a band and do enjoy things
And to keep going.
Yeah.
And anything that comes positive as a result of that, or negative, is purely a result of the momentum. It has nothing to do with necessarily my feelings or thoughts on it. We're just doing what we're doing, and if people like it, cool. If not, then okay. There's plenty of things I don't like. I understand it's not for everybody.
Yeah. It should. I think it's a mistake to try.
You know
and
what's funny
make
though,
music
and
for everybody.
this isn't really on topic, but it happens so often where like Steven, you guys will come out with your next album, and then you'll hear people on rumblings about how much they loved, Modern Witchcraft. It's like, it takes people. I think people just expect to put on an album and be like, and then, of course it's great when you put on an album and you're like, oh, instant fucking classic. Yes, but there's also something about the albums that you put on and they're like, they burn on you. I've had many albums that I would put in like my top 10 that I'm like, first listen, I was like, okay, whatever.
So many.
Yeah,
for me.
that's
But-
pretty normal. Yeah.
But then as you really listen to them with intention, you're like, oh shit, there's stuff going on here that's like next level, or like speaks to you way more than the instant gratification type of song. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So it's just, people don't even know what they're talking about is what I'm getting at,
And that's okay.
Yeah, totally. It's that. Yeah, I always use myself as an example when I try to make these points, because I've been that elitist metalhead piece of shit, or when a band took a slightly different direction, I was like, and I'm not even talking about Metallica, because that's like the biggest example, but like a band like went off in this direction, I'm like, I don't know, and then give it a month or 2 or a year, and I'm like, dude, I just love their sound now. It's like, dude, you're an idiot.
There's
You
this
know?
band called Daughters that I did that to them. They put out Hell songs.
I fucking love that band so much.
Yeah, they put out Hell songs. I'm like, what is this? What's with the voice? What's with that voice? I want to hear some hardcore. It's not hardcore. They used to be blood-curdling screams, and it was awesome. And then they put out this thing with a more Jesus Lizard style of vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And they got pegged as a Jesus Lizard club band, and they sound nothing like Jesus Lizard.
Exactly.
But anyway.
It worked out for them because those records,
Incredible album.
after that, became the thing that people know them as now. That
Yeah. Incredible album. Hell Songs by Daughters. But I got a comment here from our pal Development of a Void. Reading it correctly. I'm going to make the screen bigger because I do have vision complications. Very
Telling the
diplomatic.
two guys with glasses about it.
I need to wear glasses. I'm just not doing it.
What's that?
Bowie said he only listened to music he could steal from and hide the sources, whatever it takes mentally. And this is an interesting one because I think, I've heard these quotes. You guys may know this quote. It's like amateur artists copy and professional artists steal or something like that.
I've heard
this famous quote. But the idea behind it is, everybody steals something. The key is to steal from many, many, many small places. And it's, a surefire way to find your own way. I definitely think starting with a couple sort of fractions of ideas from existing sources and seeing how you can twist them into your own thing or rejig them into your own thing. I think that's a great way to go if you're looking for a starting point. Absolutely.
I do it with vibe all the time, like a vibe of a part of a song or a vibe of a track. I'm like, man, I want to get that feeling from this.
Yeah.
All music, all creative endeavors in general are derivative.
Yeah, of course.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to throw this up because I think it's cool to shout out, everybody in here. Development says he's working on this here video, gonna launch my channel tomorrow.
Dude.
Scary.
Sick.
It's not
already
scary,
have a
bro.
sub
You
thing.
got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Just let everybody know in the Discord or and whatnot. And
Yeah,
we got your back,
let's
man.
definitely share a link if you can.
for sure. And look at it. Look who it is.
Gary.
Hebner.
Oh,
Hello, my South
Oh.
Africa friend.
heck
Hey, Chops,
yeah,
I'm
man.
finally up at the same time as you guys. Yeah,
Sorry,
I guess it
Gary,
would
I
be
haven't forgotten you. I've just been busy. We were playing email tag for a while.
for a bit. Yeah,
That's the funnest thing to do is play email tag with.
man. Admin. You know how much admin I have to
Dude.
do? I'm not even a big channel.
Yeah.
It's so much. And I'm just like, it's starting to get tiring. Anyway.
It's time to have an employee, Bunn.
No, I can't afford it yet.
Get Carrie on those emails.
I'll work for
Oh,
Baritones.
right. He's like, that's an old photo. I still had short hair. Yeah, it's like, it shows your, whatchamacallit, user photo. And you probably never look at your user photo.
I spent too much time picking my user photo.
I don't even know what mine
Glamour
is.
shots with Nick.
I
Your
think
mom
mine's
goes
just a
to
logo.
college.
A few more comments, and then we're going to jump to the next one because we kind of,
Yeah, I derailed us, which is
that's
what
all
I,
good.
which
No,
is
I
what
like
I
it.
do.
I like it.
It's all
I think
derailments.
we got deeper into the more important parts of it. And, Dimian,
I saw that one.
I grew up
Yeah.
in New Orleans. We invented deathcore sludge.
It's true, though. It's
Yeah.
true.
Amazing. And 13 Flaws says, you've got to do what keeps you motivated. Fuck the haters. Yeah.
F the haters all day, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
I don't even hear him.
And
That's beautiful, man.
something
it's
we
true.
go, something we go into quite often is that whole disruption topic.
What's
You've invented a
Cool
word.
English. I'm very innovative.
we've got an important top chick to get into.
top chicks.
Top
Got the top
chick.
chicks for
It's
y'all.
top level.
Yeah, great. Anyway,
Fucking hell.
but Yeah, the disruption topic is like if you're not kind of stirring the pot a little bit, ruffling a little bit of feathers with your creativity, for me that's something of concern. If it's all praise and there's no like I don't get it type of thing or whatever, I'm like, it's a little too generic, I think.
Yeah, there's a very important point that I think, we don't have to dive into here, but like anytime I'm watching a video and I feel the inclination to like comment, it's usually I can feel myself, I'm like reacting. It's because they're saying something provocative or thought provoking, and I'm like, man, and I'm about to like blah 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 blah. Blah. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's just
I've
making
done
me
that
think about something in a different
recently.
way. Making me think about something in a different way, or it's challenging the way I think. We talk about not being dug in with our heels. It's like maybe I'm projecting here. So I almost never comment on a video unless I'm showing support to one of my buddies, But
Yeah.
every once in a while, it's like it's like on stupid shit too, color correction and camera stuff. I'm just like,
Kind of have to. Yeah, there's like you have to know how to ignore, like, because if the vast majority of your responses are praise or positive, you have to learn how to ignore the one dude who's an asshole and not focus on that.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
Like it,
that's a big deal.
because it is the only, like, if you're in a room full of people and everyone's enjoying themselves and there's one person that's just sitting there being a fucking
Crying.
stick in the mud, then you're only going to see the stick in the mud.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to just, okay, well, that person's unhappy, and I think, Bunn, you've said this before. Oftentimes, when people, particularly online, get really aggressive about certain things, if you interact with them, they almost immediately drop it.
100%. Yep. Or
Like if you're like, yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, dude, I'm having a bad day, or
Right. Yeah.
my wife
Yeah.
kicked the cat.
I've had so many interactions. So many. Yeah, quite a few where, for whatever reason, because I was, like the opposite of what you suggest, I interacted with the person in such a way, and it just completely 180 because I didn't go into it with negative, because I try to tell my kids this too, like you never know what's going on in someone else's life. And then, like you said, if you approach it a certain way, you can turn a hater into a fan real quick. Really quick.
Yeah.
Compassion goes a lot further than aggression, in the grand scheme of
It's
things.
not a good look either most of the time,
No,
You
being
just
like
come
fuck
across
you,
defensive
even if you
and-
feel that way, is never going to
Yeah.
get anything but that kind of response.
Yeah, even if
I
you're
think-
100% justified, Like, Bud and I have
Yeah.
talked about this kind
Well,
of thing.
we did a whole episode on
Yeah, know when to
all of
walk
the
away.
other things that might be going on,
Mm-hmm.
with the person's mental state or otherwise. But I think the way I think of F the haters is not so much like a middle finger. It's more like I don't need to give that energy.
Yeah.
I don't need to give that anymore. Whatever. It's
I
like
don't mean it to like,
throw
in it.
throw the hate out the window because it doesn't register here.
yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, don't give it any energy. Don't give it any
Yeah.
of your mental space, mental energy. And the reason why I brought up the thing about me wanting to comment because a video made me think differently
Right.
is because that is probably what people are doing if they're commenting negatively on your video, on you guys' videos. Is like you're making them think a different way, or it's outside of their little comfort zone of the way they do things.
Yeah.
So you're, like Bunn says, disrupting their little world,
Yeah.
which is good. It's
Yeah.
good to do that. It's good.
And like we were saying before, sometimes, a lot of times, you don't know what the status of that person on the other end, on the other side of the screen is.
You
Be
never
real
do.
surprised, folks.
They could
Once you start doing a
be-
little digging.
yeah, wild stuff.
This is funny. I would like to address it just because
Do it.
seems interesting. How many times do you watch your own video once it's uploaded?
I always watch it right away because I've learned the hard way. I've had like totally effed up videos up.
I watch it at least once just to make sure that I didn't fuck anything up.
I watch it once to put in to put in timestamps and then almost never watch it again. Unless I'm going back to refer to it or steal a shot.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I watched the whole thing through, like in a very concentrated look, because, and this is the reason, it was an 411. I used to do a comment show where I just responded to key comments, and one of those shows, this huge chunk was missing out of the middle. I don't even know how it happened,
Yeah.
but it was missing in such a way that the storyline sort of made sense.
Yeah, I remember this.
And I was like, what the hell?
Because you were
happened?
confused, like, did I actually miss a part?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a big chunk. And I'm like, what happened? And
I mean, yeah, I
But-
do that. I
but
do
what
that
happened
in
with
an
that show-
unlisted way.
is I uploaded it. I didn't look at it for like 3 days. So now I watch them as soon as they upload.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do the
I
same.
upload everything unlisted and watch it. Make sure everything's good to go.
Mine, the one today that I put up, I was going to upload again because I'm very orange in it. Because I fucked up something with the color correction that looked different on one screen than the ultimate outcome.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because my other monitor is a little less bright than the actual screen here on the laptop. But I just kind of let it go. I'll be orange. It's fine.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting into tanning, there ain't nothing wrong with that, Stephen.
No, it worked for the guy who was leading the country for a while.
I love that you refer to that person in that way, because that's kind of how myself and many people that I know refer to that person. As
That-
the
I mean-
person who was an elected official, the popular elected official at the time.
Abraham Lincoln. Moving on.
Yeah. Like you should after you post a video. Move on.
Yeah.
Move on to
Move
the next
on.
one. Yeah.
And last one before we get to it, Mike Hoover. How are you, Mike Hoover? I hope all is well. I also see a few other folks in there. Nar
Yeah, a bunch
Antlers.
of dudes
hope
in
you
there,
are
yep.
well. Hope you all are well. But Mike Hoover, taking hateful comments and making content with them, though, seems to be a good trend amongst the musician community on YouTube. Yeah, I think some people approach it in a negative way or add fire to the comments. But and that is maybe the biggest trend. But something that I do, and I think you guys do as well, is, yeah, I just say like, hey, what's up? How you doing? What's going on? Maybe that person just needs a pal for a minute.
Yeah. Nick and I did the thing when I did the what is heavy thing, which, I mean, there was a lot of tangents on that live stream, which is still out there, but like the whole topic of that came from somebody commenting on a video telling me that nothing I was doing was heavy. I'm like, okay, well, that seems subjective. But it was enough for me to be like, let's lead a topic of
Yeah,
I mean,
what exactly
fantastic.
Listen, man, in all honesty, the intro to my baritone video was me sort of poking at any potential hate. You know what I mean? It's like I like confronting it in a joking way, in a
Yeah, have
sort
fun
of a
with it.
subtle, fun way. Like, I'm not going to come out and say, hey, look at these assholes putting comments. Let's make a video. And blah, 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 blah. I know it's the thing to do on YouTube, you know? I try to avoid the trends, what's happening on YouTube.
There was one going around this past week about a guy who was attacking the tech guys for promoting consumerism.
Like, it's
and-
not the tech guy's fault.
The people buy things.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. But, you know, again, it was just
Yeah.
someone trolling this massive group of people, you know, that all have big followings, mostly because he was hoping they would respond, which would ultimately lead to people coming to his channel.
Well, wasn't there, this is a tangent, but wasn't there a guy with a YouTube channel who was just trying to find salacious shit about other YouTubers in the music scene and just posting videos about it?
Yep.
Like the guy did one about Rob Chapman, and the guy did one
yeah,
about
that guy.
Ola,
Yes.
And he was just trying to dig
I
up
did
stuff.
one on Glenn Fricker too.
Did one on Glenn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that type of content, but
I hope he does one on me. I feel like it would help.
right? But yeah, when you post stuff, man, DOA, when you get your video, you just make the best video you can, put it out, and then move on to the next one. Because as Steven and Bunn and myself have said in streams before, like, you could pick your own stuff apart forever. So don't even get into that habit.
Yeah.
Was that the guy with the long hair and
It
glasses?
was.
Yeah, no hat Nick in that video.
He had a stupid English accent in a stupid kind of way.
Yeah. I don't know if I never went to that guy's channel. I know what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I'm not going to that guy's channel. He seems like a piece of poop.
Like, he's just doing it for views. He's probably not a bad guy, but we know what
I don't know. I would disagree. Like, if you're
Yeah,
if you're
that's
making
true.
it your bag to just pick people apart for
Yeah.
personal gain,
Yeah, no, you're
that's
right. You're
kind
right.
of messed up.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I can sort of wrap my head around why somebody would make their channel based around that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Yeah.
It's clickbait.
It is.
Yeah. Clickbait. That's a great way. We're gonna. We always kind of double back through the comments on the end of the gig. This time we're only doing 2 rounds of the comment or of the topic, and this will be the final sort of round on the topic. Definitely in the comments, sort of share your ideas on this matter amongst each other with us. The whole point of Bandless is to, expand on the total. The total space, the total opportunity, the total set of ideas. So this next part is, you're stuck in the middle of a tune. You're like, I got this banging intro, this banging track, and I can't get any further. And Stephen, you're going to kick it off because you're the kickoff cat, kickoff master.
Kickoff cat.
Kickoff cat. And I'm sure you found yourself here. I'm sure every single person here has found themselves in that situation. What are some of the ways that you've unlocked that, or do you bother?
Both. Sometimes if I feel like the material that I have at least is if what idea I do have is strong enough, then I'll keep coming back to it. But I think I've explained this before. I'm weird in that, like, I kind of have to go with the initial, motivation, and then if something distracts from that, it's hard for me to get back to that place. I don't know. I've had that, and then sometimes I'll think of a way that it can work way later. But the easiest solution for me is to just kind of like, if I can remember the part, whenever I pick up a guitar, even if I'm not trying to record anything at all or do anything, I'll just go back to that thing, like the part that's done, and play it a few times, and then see if that like random decision to pick up a guitar and play it for a few seconds leads to an idea.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then you have to kind of be willing to let things hang out. But I think since we're all kind of the same people writing with, like, you write how you write, your material is your material, there's a high probability that you'll write something else down the line that might line up with it if you find the way to make it line up. And sometimes that's transition. My go-to, and if you pay attention to anything I do, is it's actually finished product. If there's silence, it's because I didn't know how to transition. Because if there's a stop, sometimes stops are impact too.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's intentional. Sometimes it's that I just didn't know what to do next. So I have these two parts that don't go together. I don't know how to transition them. Let's just have them end in a stop or a mute.
Yep.
And then we'll wait, a 4 count, and then go into the next thing.
Yeah.
So that's always an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
And stops are, I think, one of
The
my
jam.
most favorite, exciting things about music.
No
those little
kidding.
gaps of silence.
Would have never guessed that.
No, I know,
Stops
right?
and hesitations are what pulls things. So it's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, I've done that very same thing. Just have
where
a,
you're letting it gestate.
yeah,
and,
have a riff, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Pick up the guitar anytime I can, hoping like, I'll try like going somewhere else on the neck after it, like in hope to spur something else. Something I also do is like, I mean, I have a lot of those like, ooh, this is a decent riff, I should save it. I mean, and we've talked about it. I have a hard drive full of like projects started but not finished. I'll go through like, will this go? And listen to it. Nah. Will this go? Oh, that's no, but that's good. I should do this. Will this go? No. This, I don't know why I'm saving this, but I don't delete it. Keep going down. Maybe something else will pair up with it, or that thing I wrote, I'll write a different variation of it to go with it. Or something I did on Wells, which I was like very afraid to do, was like, just do that riff more.
Yeah.
And then Steve will ask you to cut it out.
Yeah. But that's okay because, when you got to
Do
write
less of
differently. You got to write differently. But Steven, you sent me something, man. I don't know if it ended up being a Close the Hatch song, but you sent me this song. It must have been where you did like the same chord, but you just kept going with it.
Mhm.
And like it felt like it was gonna change, but you didn't. It just kept going with it. It was like fucking genius. And I've been trying to like steal that idea for her.
Every Close That record, no matter which one it is, has one song that rides out a note as part of the chorus.
Yeah.
Every one of them. If you listen to the song Modern Witchcraft on that record, that's all that chorus is just riding a note out and then stops. The stops are accented with other notes, but they're all within that scale and they go back to the root. Yeah, I do that a lot. It's an easy trick. If you're playing the type of music where you can get away with that, or any music you can get away with it, pop music does it. That's every fucking pop song is. Just do that chord again. There's two chords in the whole song. Go for it.
Yeah.
But like, I do that, and then my other trick is it's okay. Well, go from a major to a minor abruptly, or move it back by 1 fret or ahead by 1 fret, and especially if you're still in scale, because then it doesn't change lyrical approach or doesn't have to change anything that anyone else is playing, but it will shift the vibe enough to be like, oh, something happened there that was very dramatic, especially if you do something long enough and then there's a change, even if it's slight, that change feels massive.
Yeah.
Because that other thing has become so ingrained in expectation.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's why I dig the thought of it.
It doesn't take a lot. It's move something 1 fret or 2.
It doesn't, but it also like, you want that feel. I haven't written something that gave me that feeling of when you sent me that song and I'm like, "Ooh, this is fucking good. I love this. I'm going to steal it." I thought that, obviously I'm not going to steal the riff, but like the vibe it gave me.
Steal away, sir. We're a joint effort.
I'm going to steal it. I'm going to steal we'll just steal Close the Hatch riffs and then present them to you as Wells riffs and be like, "Hey, hold on a second. This sounds really good."
You gotta figure out a way to make something that's make something that's not interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, something I've done on songs too is like, again, like sometimes I'll just have a simple rhythm to try and write a melody over. But what I'll also do is move the bass around, have the bass be moving chord progression wise. So I'm just like, in Caves, I do that on the chorus, if you will. Like there's a guitar just playing a chord, same thing, but then there's other guitars, like a walking bass line almost.
Yeah.
And when I showed people that, like when I did the mix breakdown, they're like, "Holy shit!" Like if you take it out, it doesn't sound right, but when it's in there, it just fits, just all works.
Yeah.
And it's the stupidest, simplest thing. And you have to be okay with sometimes what fits that particular song that you might be working on, or what might be the next riff to go after this great part. Might be something simple,
There's I think it's Victor Wooten I saw kind of quoted something in regards to that like, because Victor Wooten's clearly a very gifted musician.
Oh yeah.
But his whole thing is he's like, guitar players and people that are into music will know who Alan Holdsworth is.
Absolutely.
And they know he's a brilliant musician and he's
I
a
know
brilliant
all these
guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He could play circles around pretty much a lot of people that are popular. He's like, but your grandmother doesn't know who that is. But
Yeah.
your grandmother knows who B.B. King is.
Yeah.
And it's not because B.B. King is a great guitar player by any means. He's basically made a career out of playing 5 notes, but he played them in a way that was interesting enough that it drew attention. And I don't know. Both sides are good.
No, there's something to it, man.
Simplicity is the key. You know, repetition and simplicity are always the thing that make songs stick out. It's good to have things that are musical and interesting. And if you're writing for yourself, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But if your goal is for someone to take something from it that's memorable, then you have to make it simple enough in some aspect.
That's true.
That it's going to someone. And that's not an intentional thing on my part usually. It's just like, I just really like the impact of this thing happening. And I think that these slight shifts will feel a lot bigger by pushing this other thing until it feels like it's, okay, when the fuck is this going to change?
Well, listen to like a lot of modern Foo Fighter stuff, you know, like Dave. First, I mean, there's nothing but talented musicians in that band, you know, but there's nothing mega complicated going on with a lot of those riffs, you know. But it's the way Dave writes, where like it doesn't quite loop around in a right way, but it's still memorable, you know. Fucking point I was trying to make is gone, so forget about it.
Sometimes the one has to become the 3.
Yeah.
And that's a Beatles trick, which Grohl and everyone else. There's I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I appreciate the songs they're in and the creativity, clearly ahead of the game in a lot of aspects.
Yep.
But the thing that made that band interesting from a musical perspective to me is that, okay, the song is 3 chords long, but the turnarounds are in a key that's not relative. Or they'll abruptly shift from a major to a minor one time and then go back to the other thing they were doing.
Going back is hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a way to make those things either jarring enough or to create some sort of continuity via something that seems like it's a mistake. Because if it happens more than once, it's not a mistake.
Yeah. Sometimes getting back to the one is that, I mean, we were talking earlier about like constraints, you know, it's like sometimes trying to get back to it will lead you to write something really fucking interesting that you probably wouldn't have written before.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, Bunn, your riffs rap in a certain way where I always think like I have an idea of how Bunn writes, but also it's always a surprise, you know, like because you don't repeat stuff all that often.
I do. I only have 3 parts.
I usually I hear certain things, like I hear some 6/8 stuff and in that, and I usually hear some 5 stuff in Bunn material.
It's usually not 5, but
It's like at a 5
the
field.
way that it's chopped, it will lead you to feel it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there has been some 5 stuff, but it's super rare. One of the, I think one of the big things in terms of like getting stuck and all that kind of stuff is kind of know the parts that you have, and also not every part that you have is a part. And what I mean by that is there are parts like such as things that support choruses and verses and otherwise. I'm using those terms to describe these things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't write music that has choruses and verses, but I'm like, I know that you guys do, but I'm saying other folks. I don't really have verses and choruses per se, but I'm very interested in that sort of model because I think it's the easiest way to be able to tell a musical story and, you know, have like build something that's engaging.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important, I think, to realize, do I have, the thing that I think I have that is the verse, chorus, and bridge, let's say,
Yeah.
are those what they actually are? Or do I have a handful of transitions that aren't parts at all?
Mm-hmm.
And that transitions are interesting because they don't have to be, they can heighten the level of interest in music to an astronomical level. However, the transitions themselves are usually made up of very boring things.
Yeah.
And so when you're coming up with things, you're like, I need a transition. I need to move from this thing to another thing. It often doesn't have to be great. I think if you approach it with utility in mind, it's like, make a list of like, what are the musical options for me to get from this thing to this thing, then try them. A bunch of shots, a rest, a hanging chord, a series of hanging chords. I don't know, an arpeggiated part. I don't know. There's a million options. You're going to know best what those are for your own music. But I think where a lot of people get stuck on parts in terms of finishing things is in the transition moment and putting maybe a little too much pressure on the transition to be something special when it's a utility piece in the music. And if it's executed well, the total execution is what makes it exciting and not what it's built up of.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So that's a big one, I think. And like I recently was stuck on a thing, but like I don't have issues like that usually. I was stuck because I chose to start my piece of music in the wrong time signature in terms of the grid. So the way that I was able to work with the grid had a constraint to it that constrained me in a way that was opposite of what my musical goal was.
Right.
And that doesn't happen too often. I don't think that happens too often to any of us, but I'm sure we've all kind of been in something like where it's like, the rhythm is just like holding me down. And if you change the rhythm, suddenly you got something that's gold. That tune, I have a Foreign's tune called Harbor. I think it's the biggest Foreign's tune. So big. But I remember the end section of that, which is the sort of famous part of that tune. I hated everything that was in it. And then I changed the rhythm so that it was like a 6/4. And suddenly I had something magical.
Yeah.
So occasionally it's the rhythm or the grid or whatever. It's something technical where it's like, there's no flavor in anything I'm coming up with.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to do something technical. And my final contribution to If You're Stuck is the list of opposites. Like, what are the musical opposites? What is the musical thing that you're trying to do? And actually make a ledger of what the available musical opposites are in terms of whatever the trend is. Like, let's say you're doing metalcore and you know exactly kind of the style that you reside in. What are the sort of trends and popular treatments for whatever the next part would be, and what are the viable opposites of that? And record them, write them all down, be like, well, I could do this opposite in terms of the beat. I could do this absolute opposite in terms of the guitar riffing or guitar treatment. I could do this opposite in terms of the arrangement. There's many creative opportunities in any given thing, right?
Yeah.
But really decide, really take a look at what are the opposites are. And they typically lead to really fresh ideas that are really simple. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're just like taking a look at your problem from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
And it's actually right there in front of you. But you need to be able to look at it to know that it's there. And not all of it's going to work.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, don't try one of these things. Try all of these things.
Try all of them.
Yeah.
Obviously,
You have,
lead
I
with
mean,
the-
we're lucky we got a DAW, and you're basically kind of unlimited what you can do there.
unbelievable.
So just move shit around. Like, you know, your production videos, Bunn, about working in blocks and stuff. Like, I'll do that more and more because yeah, I do work that way, but cutting stuff up and moving it around, and sometimes I've even come up with riffs because I accidentally moved something around, but it chopped the end of something off and made it a different feel.
I love when that happens.
And I'm like,
and it's golden.
Oh, shit. Yeah, there's a riff. There's one of my favorite riffs that I wrote for the partisan component with Jeff that I like accidentally pasted something wrong, and it was this extra little part, and I'm like, oh shit, that's way better.
Yeah.
I'm like, happy accident.
I
Doesn't
reverse things a lot. I'll literally just flip, like.
Ooh,
flip
I've
the
done
wave,
that too, very rarely, but
and
yeah.
then I'm like, well, it seems stale in this way. Maybe if my idea, like, I have to hear it the other way without me actually physically playing it. I'll flip it.
Yeah.
Sometimes thing. I do that all the time. Delays and stuff, which most people just think it's how it's. The tricky part is, especially at Close the Hatch, we always do that. Then I have to learn how to play it the other way around.
Oh wow.
So like, if I demo a bunch of stuff and I'm like, oh, here's the melody line, and you know, leading through the verse or something like that,
Yeah.
and then I'll flip it just to see if it sounds cooler. Like,
Yeah.
if the overall presentation sounds cooler that way, and if I stick to it and then commit it, then I have to learn it that way later, which is weird, but.
Yeah.
It does work sometimes. Sometimes it just changes the overall feel of something in a really stupid way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's like, imagine if for whatever reason they didn't flip the beginning of Blackened on, you know, Justice. Like, that's one of the most memorable fucking intros to an album, and it's because they reversed the whole damn thing.
I played it. I was playing with that today. I still can't play it properly.
Uh,
Yeah, that's one of my warm-ups. Warm up if I'm doing some single note riffing.
Isn't that the song Atomic Dog, the George Clinton song? It's literally a song that they had recorded played backwards.
Oh yeah.
The entire song is played backwards, and he just sang over it.
Wow.
Like, and it's the, like, if you go listen to it, the whole song is just like just going backwards. But he sang over top of it, and it became a huge hit. But
So
it's
wild.
like, he's, you know, I do
Isn't
a
that
lot
the
of
beginning
drugs.
of a Zeppelin song too? Is it?
Oh yeah, it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Fucking
You-
reverse shit. It's
used
so
to
easy
be
to
how,
reverse stuff in DAWs.
Clutch used to transition between songs on records with.
Oh
reverse
yeah,
stuff.
totally. God.
Like
Yeah.
every record of theirs up until a point
Pretty
had
sure
at
there's
least
an-
one thing that was
yeah.
reversed that transitioned into the other thing.
I mean, talking about Clutch could be a whole episode because I love that band.
Yeah, they've been my jam since I was 14, and I'm old as shit. Speaking of old as shit, my bladder is also old as shit.
Get into
So-
it.
And I'm gonna go.
Male pattern P patterns.
I'm going
I
to.
don't know what that means.
It means you have to pee
Oh,
more often because our.
male pattern, P pattern.
I just trying to-
I guess I'm hanging on to that phrase now.
Yeah.
Hey, you can
gonna
use
start
it,
a
by all
clinic.
means.
Yeah, you know, I'm a doctor now.
I don't want to have a pee clinic, Bun.
Pee clinic. An amateur pee clinic.
This is relative to this actual topic.
Your number one. Not only am I a user, I'm a client.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Be R. Kelly. Anyway,
Okay, I'm out.
go
We'll
pee.
see you in a second, Steven. But Electric Meat Puppet says try to do what you think
Yeah.
is wrong in your mind. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about with the opposites. But I think, you know, however you kind of look at that,
Yeah,
there's
just
an opportunity in that.
outside of what you norms, think about like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I normally do here? Let's fucking throw that out the window. And I think that's what Bunn was saying
Yeah.
too about like, you know, what's the opposite thing I can do here? Explore that, dive into that. And
Yeah.
It's funny how often we don't do that because it will usually yield some sort of result and we seem to just forget about it, you know?
Whatchamacallit, Gnar Antlers, amazing username,
No kidding.
says, what are the Bach tricks? inversion, retrograde, and retrograde inversion. Is there another one? Turns a riff into multiple riffs. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of things. If you take a look at, a minor amount of theory, highly recommend to anybody to, follow up with these ideas. What is an inversion? What is a retrograde? What is a retrograde inversion? They're actually pretty simple concepts, but yeah, they can expand an idea pretty significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it allows you to work with what you already have. If the material is incredibly simple, sometimes there's not a lot of variation available in it.
Yeah.
So if it's a 2-chord progression, or say a 1-chord progression, like a part that just like hammers a chord for a really long time. There's this band called Noxact. It's like this Finn band, early members of. Well, actually, maybe not. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Finn band, really noisy, really weird, and they were famous for just using 1 chord and trying to make entire songs out of 1 chord. And they would do it rhythmically, they would do it atmospherically, etc. And variation within the rhythmic progression. And they were not metal; they were like aggressive sounding or heavier sounding, but not a metal specific band. NOXT, not I can't even remember how to spell it. Anyway.
How dare you?
But yeah, if you have enough in it, like if it's a 3-chord progression, there's actually quite a bit in that you can extrapolate. And
Yeah.
a great way to start with that is, what do you call them when you play 1 string at a time?
Pedal tone?
No,
Arpeggio?
arpeggio. Arpeggiate the chord.
Yeah. That's a
And-
huge
and-
thing.
Yeah, and see what's available there.
Yeah.
Not even to use an arpeggio, but arpeggiate the chord to see what's available and play the full chord in
Yeah.
an arpeggiation.
Mm-hmm.
But you got your eyes on any there?
I did. But
I like this one. 13 Flaws says roll the dice to make the decision for you.
why not?
I like the whole chance thing. Like, well, put a bunch of things in a bucket, pick one. I have done that, and it's pretty fun.
I'll fake it out sometimes and just program like 4 hi-hat clicks. And just, okay, the drummer's taking a break.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll, if I have a decent riff, I'm like, okay, I'll take this feel, I'll just put a loop on and just try and come up with different variations of that, different tails.
Variations are a big deal.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a whole topic.
Something I'm like notoriously bad at, but
There's a
Replace
lot of
you
opportunity.
can replace the accents too. So
Yep.
like, if a song is, the basic drum structure is continually using the snare on the same beat, like have it alternate to the tom once. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
do really, really easy things. That,
yeah.
That
Well-
seem stupid, but they work.
No, man, that's a good point, because sometimes to keep interest in a riff that I think is a little too boring, I wouldn't say boring, but simple, and I always get in my head about it, I will do something interesting with the drums, and oftentimes it'll be like a fill that will bleed into the next bar, I do that all the time. If you guys go back and listen to my music, I'll do a weird fill where it kind of bleeds into the next bar, and it gives you a little like feel to it. It's like, oh, but meanwhile I'm just still playing that like same thing, same fucking riff. I tricked ya. Something interesting was happening here.
Something's happening, but I just changed one note. I've just flipped the rhythm in one little spot. I think one of my favorite variations, if you have especially let's say a 4-note progression or greater, 4 notes works great. 4-note progression, 4-chord progression, or a 4 beat rhythm
Yeah.
that has enough variation in it, is you have, let's say, a group of 4, like, so that group of 4 is repeated 4 times, but on the third one you completely invert whatever it is about that. So you completely invert the rhythm, you completely invert the the chord progression, you completely invert the melody, whatever the case may be. Maybe all of the above. And it brings this, like, it doesn't work for everything, obviously, but when it does work, it just makes you sound so tricky.
Right.
But it completely fits, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, whoa.
There's a lot. What we're getting at is like there are so many tricks to try and get you out of a stuck, get you out of that ditch, get you unstuck or get onto
Well,
that next
listen
part.
to music you like. I mean, listen to bands that. I mean, that's the most obvious thing, in my opinion. Like, just listen to things that you
Oh,
do
yeah.
like. Listen to transitions you do like in songs.
Yeah.
And, as it's been mentioned in the comments here, okay, listen to the thing you like, steal the idea.
Yeah.
Or
It's like,
listen to things
yeah.
you like that are nothing like the thing
There's
that you're
that,
making.
yeah.
It's
Listen
not
to
even
stuff with no correlation.
it's not even like stealing. It's like what did they do here technically in this part, and how can I like apply it to my shit? We say steal. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can glean a lot just by listening to anything, really, anything.
What have we got here in terms of commentos? We're at 9:26. How you guys feeling, by the way?
I'm a little tired.
A little tired. I'm going back here, and Mr. Cosman said it's like after a while, how many Chug Monkey riffs laced with half-step noodles do you make?
All of them.
All of them. You got to reach for more. I'm stuck in the caveman Neanderthal riffs. Need to break out of the box, or
Embrace it.
yeah, full dive so hard into the caveman Neanderthal and like study what is possible with what you already have.
And give it a fun name. I've done that too. It's like,
Yeah.
Can't think of anything off the top of my head. So great example, Nick. But I'll have a working title based on like, oh, this is just a goofy fucking thing I'm working on, and it's like, that's the song,
Yeah. I think one of the big enemies of creativity is that that negative critic in the head, like
thinking
this
it needs
is so
to be a
caveman.
certain way. It
Yeah,
needs
this
to
is
be
so
a certain
caveman.
way.
This is
Yep.
so simple. This is so pretentious. This, like, it could be the opposite as well. This is so busy. This is so pretentious. This is so over the top, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that's exactly what it needs to be.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. 13 Flaws says, I feel like I've heard Nikki Sixx say he's taken a riff from other bands and flipped it to come up with his ideas. Yeah. I've definitely taken riffs. I have a
He
riff
played bass in Motley Crue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was the main writer.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He was the main writer of everything. He holds all of the
Wow.
yeah. He's the guy. He is Motley Crue.
Damn it.
I remember reading a thing with him. He was in another band during one of the mini breakups of Motley Crue. And this was like Guitar World or something. I can't think of the name of that project. But anyhow, he was saying that the guy he was working on, whatever that side record was with, would just hand him a guitar and not tell him what tuning it was in.
Right.
And just be like, okay, you have to write something. And that's how, like, he started incorporating that into all of his writing. Like, just having random things around and just picking up things. Okay, this is what I'm using to write this song.
Yeah.
Just
Very cool.
kind of cool. I think it creates a bit of a conundrum live wise.
You think? 13 guitars tuned in different ways.
Also, like, if it's just the writing, you still have the opportunity to take what you've written and see how you can parlay it into a more standard
Oh, yeah, for sure.
concept, standard concept of delivery. Whatchamacallit, Mr. David Hollowell Jr., like how I put periods between all of those things. Something that usually helps writer's block for me is either trying a new tuning, starting with a different instrument, especially picking up the bass, or giving myself some kind of limitation. And we've covered the limitation. Picking up the other instruments, I think we could go further with that idea. And something that Nick talked about early on, which is a great intentional exercise. So Nick had this situation where he was given drum tracks that were performed by a drummer. And he wrote material to it. I think that's a great exercise to do on purpose to yourself. Like, you know, make some drum beats, grab some drum beats that you normally wouldn't grab, and write to that.
At the time when I drums. At the time when I did it, it was like it was more of a foreign concept because Easy Drummer was just a thing, you know?
Right.
So the idea of like, now there's like more and more MIDI packs by famous drummers that we all love in their style and their vibe that you can just like, I mean, it's probably an intentional thing people do now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
you know, you get MIDI packs, you have like I have a ton of MIDI packs with grooves that I can pull up. But at the time, it was a pretty foreign thing. Like, it was backwards, you know?
Yeah.
So now it's probably like, what's the big deal? You wrote the drums. Have the people on here probably have Easy Drummer or Superior.
Well, I think a lot of people are writing to drums that are sort of ideal in their concept rather than picking something that's like, whoa, this is weird. Good point. This is weird. Pick the weird thing.
It was written for something else.
Yeah. And Mike Hoover says, sometimes I take field trips into shit that I'm not into at all, like 90s world beat or bluegrass for stuff to inspire.
That's dope.
Absolutely.
For sure. I listen to all kinds of shit that's not related to what I'm working on.
Yeah, Steven got me listening to Erykah Badu today.
Erykah?
All kinds of Erykah Badu.
Yeah, I mean, I love
her
Erykah.
Band is ridiculous. The people who back her.
Oh, always like, incredible.
Yeah. And David Hollowell Jr. loves the periods. So, just so you know, guys.
Like which one? Which period?
Yeah, like getting your Red Wings.
Question period.
I think we're on different topics, Nick.
Oh, okay. Nick, we're gonna have to talk off camera.
I was more so referring to like the Jurassic era, or you know, like Cretaceous.
This has gone so many variations of sideways.
You guys missed my joke too.
No, I have definitely got your joke.
We got it. Period jokes.
My iron deficiency joke.
Okay.
No. Awful.
It's nature, dude.
And Electric Meat Puppet says, if you're ever feeling down, just watch some viral videos of cats playing the piano or a duck playing drums and realize that you can do anything. Absolutely.
You can still, like, I don't know, you can steal things from other instruments too. I mean, if you hear like drums doing a certain thing, you can try to find a way to do that on the guitar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I often start writing songs with bass.
I had a big band little phase. This is a couple years ago where I just dug up all this big band stuff, and I liked how it was all chopped up. Like all the horn parts were always so chopped up, and the way that they would always sort of climb to climax.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Horns are so dope to study. Like,
yeah,
I have a huge thing for horns. And ska and just stuff like that.
And what's weird about it though is it wasn't so much the instruments exactly that I was drawn to. I realized once I got into it, it was the arrangements.
Yep.
And I'm like, what are the creative opportunities for what I'm doing with this sort of idea at the base of it?
Yeah, I'm with you. Totally.
And we got our our guy Apoplexia up in the house. Hello, sir. I hope you're having a fantastic evening. Broadening the music on one listening, the music one it listens to. It's
Yep.
always good for inspiration. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And David's on the electronic music tip. He makes metal stuff and he also makes electronic stuff. And all three of us have interest in electronic stuff as well.
Absolutely.
I have a pretty big interest in it. I think we all do.
Maybe that'll be the collaborative thing.
There we go.
Son
Easy.
of a bitch. Yeah.
And David approves that all other periods are welcome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
See, not the only one.
And this here, yes, think like a drummer. Pity I suck at drums, which actually may be a creative opportunity. Something I've definitely noticed is that people, in my whole musical life, you know, I've seen a lot of people kind of come into things, and it always seemed like the friends around me who were just like stoked to start and try things were always, you know, making the most interesting things. And whenever they dove into a new instrument or a new production routine, particularly I've seen this with drums a few times where people are like, I can't find a drummer, I'm just going to learn drums. And then they just start going right into writing jams, playing the drums.
Yeah.
And doing everything themselves. And they, at the beginning, they made their most exciting material. And as they learned things, it got more and more kind of, you know, not bad, just a lot more mature, but not always very exciting.
Yeah. I've been so close so many times to getting an E-kit so that I could just write my own parts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to start playing. I have an opportunity to start playing kit again.
You
And,
probably should, buddy.
Yeah, I'm starting to run out of rhythmic ideas, and I think I need to develop some more chops. I seem to do the same drum things over and over again, which, you know what? I think that's okay.
Yeah.
If there's an
wrong with it at all.
instrument that you can use the same things over and over and over again, it would be drums.
Yeah.
I think even like playing any other instrument, forcing yourself to treat it as a primary for a while, and getting away from the thing that's comfortable to you. When you come back to it, you'll have a different appreciation for it, and it will feel new again.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that's a good solution.
100%. And Reed is, when in doubt, just do a skinny puppy.
Skinny
cover band.
Pupper. That
Skinny
is
Pupper.
the name of the Skinny Puppy cover band. Is Skinny Pupper.
Too many jokes. And Apoplexia confirms from his experiences, you know, when he started making music, his stuff was wild, no rules, it sounded okay. But as I focus more and more on the technical minute,
I think he's trying to do minutia.
my music got staler and staler. Yeah, I've definitely had that experience. I feel like now I care less. Like I'm not so. I seem to have no preciousness left at all for my music. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. It's just music. And it has sort of freed me to be more, a little bit more, you know, have really hard rules in certain ways, and then in other ways, none at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, being
Well,
like, oh,
limitations
this stuff
can be
matters
good,
so
man.
much. Hey?
Limitations can be good. I mean,
Yeah.
they can easily create ideas that would not exist otherwise.
Yeah, if I didn't have the limitations that I have, I wouldn't be able to make the music that I make.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, because you have the flexibility and freedom of digital workstations and stuff, then you're like, oh, I don't have, you can do whatever I want, but sometimes doing whatever you want is the destroyer of a good idea.
That's that is a principal topic right there. I guess it funnels into the whole idea of, overwhelm of options. What is it? Option paralysis.
Too many options, not enough ideas.
Mm-hmm. And I think, ideas come from understandable variables. Like if I, dumped a kid, like let's say you take a little kid and you take them and you put them into Legoland, and it's a huge vacuous place of nothing but a million Lego parts. But then you take another kid and you give them like 10 Lego parts. I think the kid with 10 Lego parts will end up with something faster than the kid with all of the like millions of Lego parts, and they're all mismatched.
Yeah.
For sure. Less fair.
I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I feel like it's visual at least.
It's a fair one.
Yeah.
In my head, he just made a penis. Sorry.
Daddy, look.
I knew all that private schooling was going to pay off.
Mommy, look
10 Legos later, here we go.
Yeah. Mommy, look what I
Son,
made.
you're going to need more Legos.
Yeah. Is this where this is going?
It went. It went.
It went. It's gone. It's gone, actually. David Hollowell Jr., no periods, says, limitations breed creativity. It's a quote. Somebody smart. I don't know. I heard it from Adam Neely. Yeah, I would agree. It's like, I feel like, in any kind of art, the limitation is kind of where the action comes from. It's like I have these 3 things. I can do something with these 3 things. If I have 4,000 things, I'm like, where do I start making decisions on what I'm going to use to make something out of? So maybe that's a more simple, elegant visual representation of the idea.
I think they all worked. All of those references.
Okay, great. I'm a guru.
You
Right.
are.
And modest.
Mr. Guru. And yeah, this is a good point actually. With limitations, is there's another parallel to this, but there's something like 10 Lego parts can make 1,000 different combinations, and that is true. There is a company called Mathematica. They make software for mathematical, like high computational problem solving. And they did this experiment. This is quite an old experiment where they made these very simple programs that had a set, input rules. And the input rules would feed channels, and the channels would evolve because the input rules would interact with each other. And they found that with as little as like 3 input rules, they would end up really quickly with sprawling worlds through the evolutionary process of these evolving and like interacting and evolving input rules.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that. I don't know what the experiments were called, but there is quite a bit on it, and I think people have since taken to doing their own experiments with it. The owner of Mathematica is a pretty brilliant, pretty high-level dude.
According to this article I'm reading, 6 Legos could lead you to 102,000 options.
Yeah, insane.
Huh.
So think about that in terms of,
Your caveman riffs.
yeah, Yeah, exactly. What a beautiful parallel right there. What is possible with those caveman riffs? That one caveman riff that is comprised of a beat, a bass line, a guitar part, and a variety of notes that make up each chord or the sequence of whatever it is. There's quite a few input rules there. There's quite a few elementary parts that make it all up, and there's a lot of variation available to you to make something interesting. The key is to dig into it, be like, what are my options? And 13 Plus says total EMP, is that electromagnetic pulse? I'm not sure.
I think
You
he's
can't
talking to
decorate a
Electric
house.
Meat Puppet.
Okay. Oh, totally EMP. Right. You can't decorate a house without having walls and a roof.
Total EMP is a pretty dope name, though. Total EMP.
That's my new
That's my
youth crew
punk band name. Your youth group.
It's a new youth
Go!
group.
Did
Hey?
you say youth group?
Youth crew. You guys
Oh,
don't know what
youth-
youth
Oh,
crew
I thought you
is?
said your
Youth
new
group.
Like
youth
straight
group.
edge
I was like,
hardcore
what
from the
fuck?
80s?
That's I thought you said youth group. I'm like,
No, youth crew.
I know you're getting
Okay.
into cults, but I
Ray
didn't
Capel, man. Youth of today.
Ah.
Nope.
Guys, I'm showing my age again. Sorry. Being a
I was excited
50-year-old
about the youth
geriatric.
group.
Yeah.
Did you ever play in Canton, Ohio, Stephen? The Christian Center, like DIY
Garage?
Christian Center. It was in a strip mall.
I'm sure I have.
It was in Canton, and they had a stage set up in there. But on Sunday mornings, they'd do some Bible worship. And
There's a few
they'd be like,
places
"Yo,
like that
King
in the-
James, tell me, what are the secrets of Jesus?" And
And I would say, bathroom break. All right.
whatever. I'd stay for the coffee. And
Holy coffee.
this coffee's great, and it's free. Fantastic. But they were a great group of folks, and they threw shows, and whatchamacallit, they were actually a youth group. It was all people. I think you had to be under 19 to be part of it, and everyone who, like the guy who was at the head, or the couple that was at the head of it, they were like a teenage couple, and yeah, they made all this stuff happen. But it was really just a recruitment for
The Lord.
religion, like religious recruitment.
For sure.
In the end,
There were a lot of those in the late 90s and early 2000s. Like
yeah, this
a
was early
lot of
2000,
them.
probably 2002, 2003.
That makes sense. Did you
Last time I was
participate in
there.
the Igthus festival?
Igthus? No,
No.
don't know it.
That was a big like Christian hardcore festival.
Yeah,
The Demon
Yeah.
Hunter there.
Christian hardcore was like really big there for a minute. Tooth and Nail Records,
Yep.
and Solid State Records. Some good bands too. Wasn't
Hand of
Zayo?
Hope as well.
Hey,
Yeah, Zayo is also part of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
some great bands.
Still a band somehow, even though there's no members in it.
Oh,
No
none
orig-
of the original members.
Not
That's
one.
always interesting, hey?
It's like the third guitar player is the closest to the original.
Wow. Do you remember Life Ruiner?
I remember that band. Yeah.
Yeah, same. At a certain point, there were two Life Ruiners, and they were both touring.
Entombed did that. There was Entombed and Entombed AD. They were both touring simultaneously.
And they were both
Wasn't-
attempting to be the same band?
Basically, yeah.
Wasn't Queensryche having an issue like that too?
They did, and so did Great White.
Wow.
People get in these situations where they own one part of the thing, and then the other group of people own the other part of a thing, and they're like, "We're just gonna do it in
This is
general."
mine.
Yeah, why not?
Weird.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
And
So
correct me
wow.
if I'm wrong, if anyone knows in the comments here, but I'm pretty sure the guy who was the original singer for Entombed, who recently passed away, ended
no.
up joining Entombed AD, and the actual Entombed band had a different singer. So
Right.
it's fucking wild.
That's wild. Yeah, that's so complicated. I'm like, I'll just start a new band.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, get an HM2, write some riffs, call it something different.
Yeah.
Something with blasphemy in it. You'll be fine.
Call it HM2.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised that band doesn't exist. Probably does.
I'm sure it does. It's
Blasphemy.
probably not as cool as we would hope it would be.
No, not
Right.
at all.
They probably don't even use HM2s.
They're on their way back. They're making a Wazacraft
oh,
version of it.
Yeah.
They're so popular, I find, at least in the world of music.
I blame
that
Ola
Well, yeah, he did a video on the
for
HM2.
his revival. His revival of it.
Well, here in
in a-
Toronto,
in a
it's
good
just
way.
always been a big deal. Like
That's what this is.
Yeah, my Black Wolf is a HM2 modified HM2. It's a
Really?
popular, yeah.
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
a modified HM2. It's like that's the base of the concept, and then heavily elaborated on.
Right.
But,
There's a God City pedal. I think it's called the Angry Ned.
Yeah.
That's a combination of the HM2 and then like a tube screamer or just an LPB something. So one of those really simple circuits.
Yeah.
But instead of having all the individual knobs, they're inside, and you just have two master knobs for each thing.
Oh,
Right.
So the HM2, commonly used with dimed,
Yeah.
it's just dimed inside of the pedal, all of the
Yeah.
other potentiometers and
Parameters.
Yeah, and then you just have one knob for each thing. And the LPB one is only one knob anyhow.
Right.
So
Dope.
it's pretty cool because
Yeah.
you have both of them working in tandem. But
And you can sort of like dial in.
yeah, and it's got like the drawing on it is like Ned Flanders mixed with what's his face from the Evil Dead, Ash. Like it's a combination of the two on there. It's very odd. But anyway, yeah, God City Instruments makes a pedal that is a
That sounds
combination.
That sounds like a fun pedal.
Yeah.
It's fairly inexpensive. It's like $129.
Yite.
Electric Meat Puppet says, I feel like there's too much focus on tones production these days.
Oh man.
Speaking of tones, because it's easy to saturate media with that
Yep.
stuff, but it's
Yep.
hard for people to talk about writing. Everything sounds
A
dope.
man after my own heart, man. Dude, I've been
Yeah.
feeling this comment for months and months and months and months. And it's hard to even, talk about because my channel's sort of based on production shit and definitely tone
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah, I can't comment. I mean, I literally, my most recent videos are about tone stuff and EQ.
But I think, he makes a good point. Like behind the scenes, Bunn and Steven and I, we talk about like, oh, we're working on YouTube, but we want to be writing more music,
Yeah.
like, but is it really that exciting to set up a camera and watch somebody work through writing their music? Probably
Yes and
not.
no.
That's a difficult video to make, I find, in a way that has a story.
Well, if you
arc.
care about growth of a channel, it is, yeah, for sure.
Well,
I think at one point, either Bunn or you, Nick, somebody mentioned to, I think it was Bunn, that you should do a video on how you write songs. And I took so much time like writing it out, like how would I do that? And then I realized that I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have a way to do that because it removes the impulse. It
Right.
it removes the part of it that's creative. So unless I take a song that's pre-existing and deconstruct it, it's hard to explain that. Like I
Ye-
can't. Like I
yeah,
could
man.
easily sit down and be like, "This is how I write a song," but the result of that instruction would be fruitless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and plus it's so fragmented, right?
It's just
It's-
different every time. I mean, it's somewhat of it's similar, but like you try to, at least for me, I try to at least somewhat approach each song a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like, yeah, the process is kind of the same. I'm probably going to come up with a part, then build a part, but I try to even do that different every time for the same reason we're having this conversation in all today. Is it's all like I want to get out of a rut. So in order to do it, I'm going to try something different, start somewhere different.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
hard, it's hard to nail down like, oh, what's your process? If I was really going to make it as bare bones as possible, it's just plug in the guitar and play until I have an idea. But actually constructing it inside a DAW is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And it
I
just
think to
doesn't
do
read as
that-
interesting to me.
Yeah, to do that in a to songwriting in a DAW type of thing, to show it in a way that would be truthful, or not truthful, but
Real time.
ultimately what you do would be really difficult, because coming up with those elementary parts is such an organic thing. However, how I ended up doing this wetlands thing is I did a video like this, and when I sat down, I'm like, I'll just use some like stonery kinds of riffs. I can come up with those really easy. And I did that on camera. I did the whole thing on camera. Is it an amazing banger? No, but I was actually really surprised at what I ended up with.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is worth exploring more.
It can happen for sure. Yeah.
But I think, being able to kind of like, okay, well, like kind of go into it like this is going to be sort of a throwaway type of thing, and also having a bit of a strategy. So I have a strategy for all of my music. There is, what do you call it, impulsiveness within that strategy, but I definitely know what I'm doing at all points, at all times. I'm like, if I'm sitting down, like I'm working on something, I know what I'm working on. I know why I'm working on it and what it's all about. Whether it's fruitful or not, different story.
Yeah, I kind of you did a video where you wrote and released something. I think it was one of the ones you did with DistroKid.
Yeah, that's the
And
one.
it was like from start to finish thing. Like that was really inspiring, and I kind of went back and watched that to try to be like, is there a way I can kind of do some version of this with what I do? And just I suppose what I should have done is just done it, which is another
highly
thing.
recommend that, exactly that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
taking my own advice, I suppose.
I mean, I've been kicking around the idea of doing something like this, and some of the guys are kind of commenting about it right now. It's like,
You do it. You already do it. You're doing it on your streams pretty regular. Like you're kind of like tearing, like you did it on the Wells thing. You took apart a song that was pre-existing and kind of explained how you came up with the ideas.
yeah.
I guess that's the closest way you could really get to it.
Yeah, as
without
far as
kind
to
of
like,
In
live
terms of
streaming
seeing
your
it
life.
all.
yeah, it's trying to make it like organic, because it's like Bunn said, like sometimes I'm upstairs and I'm fiddling and I'll have an idea and I'll record it on the Mac real quick just to get it down, or if I'm writing something for a YouTube video or the store or one of the stores I work with, like that might be, oh, I'm taking that for sure, I can take my own shit. It's like, but it's never like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I have this 3-hour chunk of time, I'm going to write a song. It doesn't ever work that way,
Yeah.
I'm lucky if I get a riff in that time.
Yeah.
It's hard.
However, I think if you have like 3 parts, you're like, okay, these 3 parts, they work together,
Yeah.
and I have these foundational elements to kind of build something out of. I still think that would be a fruitful.
Oh,
like
yeah,
if you
for
were going to
sure.
make a video about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
I
think, Steven, that could be an approach you take too, is like realize you have a few riffs to like build off of, and then
How am I
going
going to put them together?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty doable. A lot of my videos, even like the guitar mixing one, those are it's just a grouping of riffs that work enough for me to show off the examples. So yeah, that actually is a pretty doable solution.
Yeah, get into it. Have fun. Be creative. And whatchamacallit, 13 Fly says modded clone. The Black Wolf, not a modded clone, but started with the sort of the philosophy that drove the we're talking about the pedal.
Does
the HM2.
JHS have a HM2 knockoff?
No, they don't really have any straight up metal pedals. I think the Paul Gilbert thing is the closest thing they have.
He's got they have a Wasabi, I think is it called?
Yeah,
where
which
it's-
is an overdrive, no?
Yeah, it's like every iteration of the Tube Screamer in one pedal,
Yeah, there's that.
which I'm trying to get my hands on.
Those
'cause
are cool.
It's fucking cool.
I have 3 Tube Screamers of different varieties, and I like as much as I have a Keeley modded one of these guys with the and then
Is not the Great River, the EHX Great River, not a EHX version of a Keeley modded Tube Screamer?
it is, yes.
Okay.
And then I have the one that is kind of the GHS one, which is basically.
I like the sound of that one. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was like surprised. I'm like, I love this pedal.
It's essentially it's basically what the plumes ended up doing later.
Yeah.
That's what all three of these switches do, is what's on the plumes.
The clipping diodes.
Yeah, and so I don't know. This pedal's $50. The plumes used is still like $75-$80.
In Canada, it cost me $200 when I bought
Well,
it new.
you can use mine anytime you want. I'll be happy to send it to you.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't even use the plumes anymore.
Really?
It's like my friend Anthony Poto. He lent me a bunch of Fortin pedals, and he's like, you can just keep. I don't really use them. You can keep them until I need them, but I might not need them. But like, he just lives next door, so it's easy. But I have all these like crushing high gain.
Feeling synth
boosts.
Chris right now because like I have no need for pedals. I have a Helix and a Stomp, and everything I need is in there. And he says I'm trying to avoid getting into pedals because I know I'll get addicted and lose all my money. Yeah.
Yes.
I luckily work with a couple stores where I have buddies who have had all these pedals, or you know what I mean? Like I can share stories and how they like it, so I can live a little bit vicariously through people who actually have these pedals. But I am chomping at the bit to get more pedals.
Don't do it.
I know, man.
There's only a few pedals that I have that I can't
Live without.
recreate in Helix, and I make facsimiles of them, but they're nowhere near what I want them to be. And I was like, this guy is almost impossible to emulate.
Yeah, that's a fit. The afternoon.
The afterneath. I'm sorry
Oh,
about the clown
nope.
nose.
That's the pedal I'm ready to get.
So this is the V3. I have the V1 as well. V3 has a bunch of mod stuff and an expression thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the V1 doesn't. But it's almost impossible to emulate inside of the Helix. You can do like I said, a facsimile of it.
Yeah, you have to blend reverbs to get something close.
Reverbs, delays,
Yeah.
And you have to there's some reverse stuff, and the magic of that is in the drift knob, which is where all of the character of the pedal comes in. It's impossible to duplicate as far as I've found on my own. Now, if say Helix, the fucking designers at Helix get an afterneath and tear it apart and make a version, I'm sure they could do that.
I'm sure they're working on it.
But yeah, it's almost impossible to duplicate. And then I have a Caroline reverb.
Right.
That is lo-fi reverb that has bit crushing properties and stuff. I can get a similar thing in Helix to that, but it takes 6 pedals to do that pedal.
Yeah.
Lots of DSP.
And what is it? The Bit Commander, which is essentially just a bit crusher. There's some properties of it in pedal form that can't be done in the Helix.
The stuff you're doing with bit crushing, in Logic, man, is real eye-opening.
Oh yeah, I just don't treat them like bit crushers.
Yeah,
they're dirty on their own.
Yeah, it's just cool. I love that. Even still, I'm absorbing shit from people. I'm like, dude.
I did that by accident. I used bit crushers a lot at different times for accent stuff, or underlining vocal parts. I would bit crush them and just kind of bury them. And I did it on guitar, anticipating in the process of trying to do something for Ohio Faust and make it sound digital.
Yeah,
I did something with the bit crusher, which was just, not having it on yet, just moving knobs around, and I was like, oh, that actually does something on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Without it being on, because if you're downsampling is where that Nintendo-y thing, you sampling in conjunction with your bit choice is where all of that weird digital stuff starts to happen. And then it's just how you shape the waveform and wrap it in order to control. But there's more happening with just changing the waveform. If you just go in and turn the distortion off, turn the down sampling off, and just make a balanced, unity gain plug-in of it, and then start changing the waveform and how it processes the signal.
Yeah.
You're already creating a change in the tone. It's going to add an artifact.
You're getting all those harmonics.
Yeah, you're just adding weird harmonic content that wouldn't exist otherwise. But
and brokenness.
Yeah, and it just does something to color things. You know, can't if you put it on everything, it starts to sound like shit. But if you just use it to kind of touch the surface of something, and like how I tend to use them just to like, I know this one thing has a dirty property that's almost like a saturator plugin. That's just different. It translates differently.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. It's a free plugin. It came with the thing. There's nothing special about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a dumb trick that was an accident. Happy accident.
Sweet. Bit crushers, I've not got into them quite yet. I think they are part of the answer for what I'm doing with wetlands, something I need to explore more. I find the fuzzes in Helix, I want more of like an unpleasant surprise type of fuzz. I don't know if you know them, Fairfield Circuitry, but something that's out of control and just like unbelievably broken, but it's tough to get in the Helix.
Yeah, fuzz is tricky. I mean, the HM2 is finally in there, and it's pretty justifiable. Like, it sounds pretty close.
Yeah.
But I found that like even like the fuzz face and things of that nature, the versions of them that are in there don't sound anything like the pedal. To me.
They're not out of control enough, or they're not blooming enough.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like the bloom that you would get from a real pedal through a cab.
Yeah, there's a natural thing. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of fuzz pedals. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. But
this guy
I'm
is the
with you.
jam, by the way. It's my favorite fuzz pedal. It's a modified Acapulco Gold,
Okay.
which I don't know if you're familiar with those or not, but
I know those. Yeah.
okay. For those that are listening or watching that aren't, essentially, it's just a super super hot, multi FET amp. It's just a bunch of volume essentially. Earthquaker Devices will describe it as emulating the sound of the preamp stage of a Model T. Not true at all.
No.
Has nothing to do with that. But it sounds gnarly, and people associate the Model T with sounding gnarly, so that's just what they used. Either way, there's no correlation whatsoever, especially once you take the pedal apart and realize there's almost nothing in it.
Right.
But yeah, the modified version of that, you can push a cabinet off of that pedal.
Really? It has that much gain?
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
Well, no.
But you can put
or
if
it
you
sounds
put it
great.
right. Well, that may be what you're looking for. But yeah, if you plug it in and have power source going to it, and don't put an amp between there and your cab, it will power a cab. It sounds like shit, but it'll power it.
It's like when I played with that kilt, even it had a little bit more like of that mid something, you know what I mean? Like,
Pillowy.
yeah, just something pleasant. It's still running through the Helix, but I don't know, man. Something about a fuzz pedal.
Fuzz.
It's
That
just
must
hard.
be-
It's a hard thing to emulate,
Because it's unpredictable.
And especially if it's Germanian, they're different every time you use them.
Yeah.
Even if you've used it the same pedal 100 times, it's sounded different in some variable every time, and temperature affects it.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's cold, it's going to sound more shrill. If it's hot, it's going to sound more open.
I just want a sick Velcro fuzz. Like something
Fuzz Factory.
really, really Velcro.
The Fuzz Factory.
Is
The
it-
ZVEX Fuzz Factory.
Yeah, the ZVEX. It's kind of one of the closest.
need to do
things
a
the
fuzz
unpleasant
exploration.
surprise.
It does that Velcro thing so
Yeah.
well. The Beazle Buzz does that too.
The Beelzebubs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy any pedals. I want to do it in Helix.
Yeah, you have to figure it out there.
Is there a limit to how many edits you have in your videos? This is to all of you. Like editing out ums. How often do you shoot for one take vids, and how and would it make a difference?
I never. You guys can tell that I don't shoot for one take videos.
Unless mine are live, it's multiple
Yeah.
takes.
I'm usually cutting out an or a gap in. I'll say what I'm saying in chunks. Even if I could regurgitate 3.5 minutes of stuff, which I am capable of doing, I will still say a part, sit there a second, say the next part, sit there a second, say the next part, because then I'm not going or I mean I still do it, but like I don't shoot for perfection because that's what the edit's for. Give yourself enough gap between the things you're saying so that you can cut it cleanly together. You know, the best example I can give is go watch one of my videos. You can see I'll do a little bit of a punch at a cut. Even if I it'll still sometimes be one long sentence that I left enough of a breath in. I'll still put a little thing there, you know what I mean? Like an edit, if you will.
Yeah.
It's to emphasize what I'm saying versus the last thing I said. But you can use that to cut out uhs or ums or fuck ups or flubs or starting the sentence over. Like, don't try and shoot for is my advice. Totally my advice.
Yeah.
Bunn taught me long ago. Bullet points is huge, and my best videos flow wise tend to be when I do that properly. But you know, if you're going to regurgitate information too, just don't try and shoot for, unless that's how you want. Of course, if you want your aesthetic to be like Marquise Brownlee, where he'll talk and talk and talk, and you know he's not cutting because they're doing a nice punch, like a real punch, where it's like zooming in, you can see the zoom,
Yeah.
and then they zoom back out. But
He's also made 1,000 videos.
he's also made 1,000 videos. He's been doing it since he was 16.
He's also made millions of dollars.
Good on him, you know.
Yeah, I actually enjoy his channel.
Yeah,
Don't hate it all.
And he, you got me on a tangent. He explores. He's a tech guy, but he explores, you know, the side of tech that it could get, you know, could keep him from making money. You know, like he did the right to repair video,
Yep.
which throws shade at a lot of the companies that he worked closely with. You know, Apple loves the guy, but you know, Apple's been notoriously criticized for the whole right to repair thing. But that's a whole nother thing. The point I'm trying to get is like, if you want to do long takes, plan for it. But especially at the beginning, don't expect perfection, you know? Like, I don't know. Bunn, what do you think?
I think things will get better with more reps.
100%.
Yeah.
You're going to suck these first few videos, dude.
Yeah.
Laugh at it.
Take it in.
Go back and look at my first videos. They're up there. Not good.
Mine, I decided to use a fucking 50 mil fucking lens with my face in it on my first video, and it's the most watched video I have, and it's terrible. And I lit it with just taking a regular, like a desktop lamp and taking the whatever you call that is.
Hey, guys.
The shade, and then I did that. Literally what you're doing.
Welcome.
And I turned the shade upside down to
Welcome
project
to
the
my
light.
channel.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about fuzz pedals, and as you can see behind me.
Yep. I did exactly that.
Yeah, dude, look at all of our first. I mean, Bunn was a little more deliberate with his presentation, so I think
What are you talking about?
he's gotten rid of some of the chum. But
well, I only got rid of 2 videos, but I'm also Asperger's, so everything's about planning.
Right.
You guys got me hip to scripting it out, and even actually the one video I did with Bunn in his Bunn Palace, I took note of him having like a tablet with things he was reading on them at the side. Okay, well, if I want to increase things, then I need to kind of write out a little bit of the idea.
Yeah, I use the notes for like getting bullet points down all the time, and I'll have it like on my leg or right on the floor. Whenever you guys see me, like my phone is right there with my bullet points, and and I'll glance down. I'll be like, okay, what's important, and then I'll piece together a natural, sarcastic Nick Hill kind of sentence to go with it, you know. But bullet points is crucial. Planning out your video, I think if you get, the reason why I'm suggesting it now at the beginning is because if you make it a habit now, it's going to benefit you down the road.
It'll only get better, yeah.
And it'll get better faster.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
it'll get really good faster. Look at I wonder what Anthony Nieto does. Have you seen his? Videos?
yeah, they're
He's
pretty
fresh out
in
of the gate.
depth.
They're great. Man.
Yeah,
They're
right
super
off the
great.
bat, man.
And
So-
I think it's a result of planning.
The point is, like, you got to kind of expect your first go at this stuff to be cringy and sucky, and that's okay.
I kind of agree with 13 Flaws to some degree, because it is good sometimes to leave the mistakes in because it feels real. But like he's saying that he wants to see a channel that's basically just us bloopers. But
I mean, son of a bitch, I could definitely post. I could export plenty of videos with all of the. I mean, I left one when the guy. I don't know how far you guys got in my video, but when the guy in the motorcycle drove by in the
that
neighborhood,
was hilarious. It was the highlight of the video.
Yeah.
like I left that in because that was my genuine fucking response, and I'm like, oh, that's right, nobody's here, and I'm talking to the camera, and getting all bent out of shape.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it.
I've cut out a lot of burps. I've cut out a lot of fucks because of mistakes.
I'm starting to just beep them, bleep them.
That's
I don't
funny.
think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna mess with my channel.
Yeah.
I don't
almost
know.
never curse. It's so rare.
I'm a
for me to
cursor.
curse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find as I do this more and more, there's less ums and ahs and all of that kind of stuff. There's a much more fluid delivery. And a big part of it, I think, comes from the scripting process. I script all of my videos. I don't read the scripts, but I write a very in-depth script so that when I go to camera, I have very pertinent, very refined information at the top of my mind. And it's sort of the scripting is the working everything out. And I'll refer to the script throughout the video whenever something is, you don't remember everything.
Yeah. Shit. Hold on. I had a thought. Damn,
That's okay.
dude.
It'll come. It had to do about scripting and the ums and ahs. And,
Oh yeah, you also because you do a mini sort of like blog post on your page when you post the video on your website. So your script is basically like isn't that sort of what you end up using? Don't you use that elsewhere?
I did, yeah. So
You've been not doing that?
No, I have.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been keeping up with posting the videos because I've been trying to think of a way. I want to do it all different.
Yeah.
But that is true. So the benefit of having, that is a secondary benefit to having a script, to having anything planned, is that when you post it to, say, your website, if you want to have an associated blog, it's very easy to sort of edit your script so that it associates your video in a written format in a much more, poignant kind of format.
Yeah.
And so if there's going to be links or anything in any of my video, it's already in the script. That's another thing. Like once I go to post, I just go to the script. I take the things I need. I put them in the video. The sort of little blurb in YouTube comes from the script, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And also shot listing. I shot list everything.
Also a good habit to get into.
Yeah, I know where I'm going to shoot whatever dialogue. And lately I've been trying to mix that up a little bit more in my room because I find information delivers a little bit more effectively if there's a little bit more diversity in the scene.
Yep.
So I do it specifically so that hopefully the information is easier to digest because there's quite a bit of dry information. And if you kind of give a little bit of diversity in the scene, people pay attention. And
Agreed.
This is what I assume. I'm not a master of psychology.
No, I think that too. Like you'll see me rotate in my space just because it's like if I'm sitting in that one spot for X amount of minutes, I'm thinking like somebody's gonna be bored by now. They're gonna skip ahead,
Yeah, especially if it's dense information.
Yeah, which let's face it, Nick Hill likes to make 30-minute videos.
Yeah, I like 20-minute videos do better than 2-minute videos.
Yeah.
I know. We all know, I'm sure. But yeah, it seems like
I don't care about how long they
12
are.
minutes. 12 to 15 minutes seems to be the magic number. At least for me.
Well, this has been a long one so far, boys.
What time is it? 10:19. We're going to shut her down soon.
Yeah.
We got a few more hellos here. Late bloomers. We got some Anthony Nieto. Hello. Baritone Cult, hello. How are you guys? I hope your evenings are doing well. Oh, later, Nieto. I gotta head out.
Oh, then he's leaving.
In and out.
Have a
He's
good
in
one,
and out.
Anthony.
That's okay.
Goodbye, meat puppet.
Oh, yep.
Good
Yep,
night,
see,
meat puppets.
Everybody's leaving. We've gone too long.
Yeah, we've hit the wall.
But yeah, we're gonna shut her down. But I guess to summarize, in terms of having no ideas to start or no ideas to finish, I think the biggest takeaway is maybe taking a look at things from a different point of view. What's right under your nose, and stealing, not copying. Steal a little bit from a lot of places, and then try and spin it your own way, or give it a fresh take.
Happy 1 year anniversary to Baritone Cult.
Yeah,
1 year,
congrats, dude.
Yeah,
Shoot.
1 year, 708. That's pretty good, man.
That's wild.
That's a lot of growth, dude.
Yeah. 1 year took me 3 years to get the 300.
Seriously. So good on you.
I would say that this community of folks is helpful for that as well. Everyone
They're quite
supports
nice,
each other.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you got some built-in fans if you get, especially for like DOA starting his channel, right? Is that who's starting his channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, just go for it. Like, you're gonna run up against stuff at the beginning, and
That's what makes it fun.
yeah, like it'll be fun to see your development, your growth, and shit like that. So
I'm somehow 60 away from 1,000. I'm not
so
I know.
close. We're so close.
Oh yeah, by the way, let's do it.
yeah.
I don't know
we gotta-
who knows it, but
I feel like Baritone Cult and I, Aaron, started around the same time.
Let's
Pretty
try
close together.
and get Steven to 1K this week.
yeah,
I
I'm
got
gonna
some new interest today. Some really exciting interest.
that was salty.
Nah, it's cool. I mean, maybe
He
I'm the
subbed,
problem.
so whatever.
Yeah, you did.
Gear.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
It seems like the videos that I think aren't gonna do well tend to do okay.
Yeah.
Like these instructional type videos seem to be doing okay for me, and I don't
Is
know
that
if people.
the G? Like, is that this? Probably. Same thing, Nick,
Yeah.
that you just
Oh
dropped in
yeah,
there?
it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
I just always pull the ugly one because it's
Okay.
right there.
I'm not sure. Trying to make 60 new email addresses.
Hey, if it works.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I have a few personal emails that, like, sometimes if I'm not feeling good about the performance of a video, I'll switch account.
Always shout outs for my pals, man. Always. 100%.
Absolutely.
I do what I can, everything I can, without being overbearing. Maybe I am still overbearing, but
Whoa, would you
yeah.
post another tech video, Steven?
I only have.
Oh
two.
no, you got the greetings. Okay.
What I
There's
want to know
greetings
is
in
how
there.
you got this My Tech Channel thing at the bottom of your YouTube page.
Oh, you go. Let me pull up.
Or maybe
YouTube.
we should talk about that off camera.
That's all good.
Let's talk about it off camera.
Yeah. I got your solution. Though.
Sorry, man. Or sorry, gang. We're gonna wrap it up here. It's 10:23. I gotta get home.
Yeah.
One last little bit here. Does ZYT show
think he
us
means
more
YouTube.
love after? Is that a marker for
No.
them? Who's ZYT?
I think he just meant, does YouTube show us more love after
Oh,
one?
okay, right.
I would just, dude.
Yes. I would
I
say
think
the answer is yes.
algorithmically something happens.
I noticed a difference past 1,000 and a difference past 10,000.
Yeah, I think it's like there's a
it's not
momentum
huge.
thing. It's a snowball thing that happens. So like, it took me forever to get to 1K, and Bunn will remember this too. 1K to 2K was probably twice that, and then
It was months.
it was months where we were like, he was like, dude, you're clipping away now at this point, you know.
Yeah.
So you start. That's when the curve starts to go up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But what I would still encourage is like try to like put the numbers out of your head.
You can also cheat and use Google Trends, because that's what I do sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can just type in like the subject matter you're interested in, and it'll tell you the videos that are doing the best. And then you can do some video. Like that's how I got to like the taking the bass 6 and tuning it. Did this is standard tuning still heavy because the top trending thing on YouTube for guitar was standard tuning that day.
Oh,
Right.
What?
Yeah. If you go, Google Trends even has a section
I don't wanna get
show
into
you
this.
just the analytics for YouTube, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a solution.
Google Trends is amazing. You can also set an alert for it.
Yep.
For what you're looking for.
Anywho,
But
cool
yeah.
YouTube chat.
YouTubers, yay!
good. Nice to have a boost. Yes. Baritone cult. Go for it. Go
All right,
for
gang.
it. Don't forget the music though. Make the music first. Videos come after the music.
Yeah, I've been doing music second. I should probably make more music.
Yeah. Or
That's my goal.
We're gonna
integrate
fix
them.
We're gonna
That's
fix
my
that.
thing.
Hold me to
Yeah.
the fire,
gonna
fellas,
fix
because
that,
I
buddy.
should at
All right.
least have one more of a solo thing out sometime between now and June.
Or maybe
And
we start our little group thing.
Yeah.
One riff each, and then we try to figure how to put those 3 riffs together. In
Steven
one
and
thing.
I are working on some tentative plans to, like, make the writing for the wells more a deliberate thing.
Okay.
So, that'll
Okay.
be.
Get her going.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Get her going, dog. See, I'm a ventriloquist and don't even need to use my lips.
Oh my god.
It's very cool.
This guy.
So cool. Holy man. All right, ending the stream right now. Thank you very much to everybody.
End it.
Have an amazing night.
Appreciate you
everybody.
guys.
And especially thank you to everyone with us at Patreon. And yeah,
$5 American dollars.
$5 American dollars.
$2
gets you there
Australian dollars.
If you're interested in such things. If you're not, no pressure. We love you just the same. But yeah, we're going to end this stream. Have an amazing week, night,